Hello and welcome to this episode of the P Smash Podcast. Today we are going to be talking about a lot of stuff. First, we're going to talk about Steph Curry's 62-point game. You heard that right. 62-point game. Then I want to talk a little bit about the Knicks. Then next, I want to talk about Kyrie, Jarrett Allen, and the Nets situation. After that, I just want to do a little bit of, I don't know what to call it, wrapping up the NFL season. And then I have a little tidbit for you all before we go into our final subject, which will be previewing the games for this weekend in the NFL playoffs. So first, let's talk about Steph Curry's 62-point game. Now, most people were going to talk about the game itself and how it was amazing, and yes, it was amazing. Steph Curry. I don't understand what you would expect. He was going to get an amazing number at some point this season. It just depended on when was more the question, not if. Did I think it was going to be 62 points? No. But I could have definitely seen him be 50, 55. But really, I want to talk about the impact Draymond Green has for this team. Because before this offseason, or I think it was 2 off seasons ago, when they gave Draymond Green the max, it looked like a really, really dumb move. It did. Draymond Green was getting older. He was declining in value. His production was going down. But now, when we get back on the court, we see really what his value is. Because before he got on the court, that team did not look like it ran well. Once he was on that court, he got everyone in the right position, and he has started to turn that offense around. Draymond Green is what you would want your floor general to be. Now, Steph Curry is a great player, and he is definitely the best point guard in the league. And he's probably the best point guard in the league if you take everyone in their primes. Like right now, like CP3, Kyrie, Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, put them all in the primes. I think Steph Curry is still the best player. But he's not a floor general, if that makes sense. He's more of a, my playmaking ability is from the gravity I take on the opposing defense. Since they have to come so far out to guard me, it gives me the opportunity to play make for my teammates. He's not a CP3 where he's going to get everyone into position every single time. That's what Draymond's job is. And Draymond does a great job of this. This is why Draymond is so valuable to this team. It's not for his scoring, it's not for his rebounding, it's not even for his defense. It's for his leadership and his ability to get everybody in the right place at the right time. And I think that's not only going to help the offense this year, but I think it's going to help the Warriors moving forward as they groom new prospects like James Wiseman, who I think his potential is sky high. I really do. And I think he could be almost transition into a wing if he's able to get a little more speed under him. And he can get his ball handling up and become more of a Giannis type where he can play as some small forward and some power forward versus just playing pure center. Because I think that's where his potential is going to be maximized. Because I think he does have the potential to ball handle. He does have the potential to shoot. And I think he could be the next Kevin Durant-esque type player. Now, no, I don't think he's going to be like at the level of Kevin Durant, but I could see his long, lengthy frame at what is he 7 feet, 7'1". If he is able to transition into a more wing-oriented role, that way they have to stick another wing on him, and he could just shoot over his defender wherever. I do see James Wiseman having that potential. I'm not going to say he's going to hit it yet, but I could see him doing that, and that would be amazing. And then finally, I just kind of wanted to touch on the Steph Curry haters of this season. Like, my mom is one of them. She was like, I just don't see it with Steph anymore. I don't see the it factor with him. And this game kind of answered that question. He does have it. He just needed a little time to get his legs under him and get the ability to get going. Not playing basketball for almost 2 years, or I think it was almost 2 years or almost a year, or a little over a year, is one of the two. But either way, that's really hard to transition into not playing at all to playing in games at game speed with little preparation with your new teammates, because most of that team is new, and you don't have either your security blankets to start the season in Draymond and in Klay Thompson. So I think you put all of those together, and you have a team who's going to start heating up and who might actually capture the 8th seed. Next, I want to talk about the Knicks. The Knicks. They are looking good. As I'm recording this, they're hovering around 500, which for the East is definitely enough to make the 8th seed. If they can keep up and get, I think it's a 72-game season. So you divide that, 36 wins would be the amount of wins I think they would need to hit to really make the playoffs. If they hit 36 wins, I could definitely see them not winning out. I could definitely see them doing that. I think their ceiling is probably a little above 500, probably around 40 wins. And I think if they can hit 40 wins, they can get into the playoffs. And I think that's really good for this team, because I think this will help boost RJ's confidence. I think Julius Randle is turning into a really, really good player. He's an all-star caliber player right now, as I'm recording this video on January 6th, which is just a little more than 3 weeks into the NBA season, I want to say. A little more, almost 3 weeks, I think, would be correct. 28 days. Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks since the NBA season started. So 3 weeks in, he's looking like an all-star caliber player. So I'm really happy for the Knicks and Knicks fans, and I think they will make the playoffs, and I think that's going to be good, because even though there is a stacked draft class this year, I think it's more important that you guys keep building and keep working on what you do have versus, in the end, taking a pick that is a risk, especially when you are the New York Knicks and you just pick players that sometimes don't work out. I'm looking at you, Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox. But anyway, I'm really happy for Knicks fans. Good job, Knicks fans. Stick with it. And as a Washington football team fan, I feel your pain. So stick with it. And hopefully your team will be halfway decent like mine was this year. Well, next, we are going to go and talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Now, first, I want to cover Kyrie. And there was something interesting I heard that I agree with. It's that Kevin Durant may be the best player on that team, but he's not the leader. Kyrie's the leader of that team. And I think that's a really good dynamic, because I think Kevin Durant is not a natural-born leader. If you look at every team he's been on, you have Russell Westbrook being the leader in OKC. You can definitely tell that once he left. You can tell that once Kevin Durant left, that culture didn't really change. It was still Russ. The culture was still the same. In Golden State, you still had Steph and, really more importantly, Draymond as the leaders of that team. And now in Brooklyn, you have Kyrie, and I think that's what best suits Kevin Durant, because I think Kevin Durant can be a leader, but I don't think that's what he's best suited for. I think he's best suited for when he can just play. When Kevin Durant can just play, he's an animal. When he doesn't have to worry about all the off-court stuff, being a leader, all the drama, and he can just play, he's amazing. And I think Kyrie being able to evolve and turn into a leader that looks like he can handle the responsibility is a really good thing. And it's showing in his play and his ability to get his teammates involved. One of those teammates happens to be Jarrett Allen, who had an insane game against Rudy Gobert, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, who is still, relatively speaking, in his prime. I think he is still in his prime. I don't think he's 30 yet. I think he's like 28. He's not that old. He's still good. He's still a really good defender. And he absolutely destroyed him. Like, he did. And that's amazing. I think this is really good for Jarrett Allen, and I think it shows that Jarrett Allen needs to start. DeAndre Jordan used to be my guy back in the day, back in the Lob City days, but it's time to admit DeAndre Jordan is no longer a good NBA player. It's alright, Knicks fans, and it's alright, Nets fans. You guys both had DeAndre Jordan, and it both took you a while to realize how bad he was. But you can make the right decision now. And just say, enough's enough, DeAndre. We do like you as a locker room guy, but it's time for you to come off the bench. And that's what I believe Steve Nash is going to do from now on. Next, I want to talk about... What was it? What did I want to talk about next? Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about a little snippet that I got in life, really. I was just, going through one of my courses for high school. I'm a high school student, if you guys didn't know. And I come across this page in the course that says, Testimonial, Jalen Rose, NBA star. And maybe take a double take, because I was like, wait a minute. Jalen Rose, NBA star. Yes, he was a good player, but star? So I looked it up. And he averaged 18 or above points in, I believe it was 5 years. Made an all-rookie team. And made most improved player. Besides that, he has 0 all-star appearances. No all-NBA teams. Obviously no MVPs. No defensive players of the year. No coaches of the year. Etc., etc. That's not what I would call star. If that was your definition of star, players like Andrew Wiggins, Domantas Sabonis would have better cases than, or the same level of case as Jalen Rose to be a star. And no, I'm sorry. You can't just throw around the word star and expect people to believe it. You call Jalen Rose a star. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. I don't know what those people were thinking. But, it's just how people be sometimes. Anyway, moving on from that absolute debacle, just kind of wanted to wrap up the NFL season. As you know, it just came to a close. Not the playoffs, obviously, but just want to wrap up the regular season. First, saying congratulations to Derrick Henry for rushing over 2,000 yards. That's insane. Congratulations to the Dolphins for getting double-digit wins for the first time in a long time and looking like they have a promising future ahead of them. I want to congratulate the Washington football team for making the playoffs for the first time in a long time and for drafting well. They look like the San Francisco 49ers before they got Jimmy Garoppolo. Not before they got Jimmy Garoppolo, before they, when the year Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt when they first signed him. That's what they look like right now with that quarterback situation and all that. And I think next year when they get that figured out, or Alex Smith gets better, or they get a quarterback in free agency or through the draft or whatever it is, I think that this team is going to be even better than it was the year before. Other than that, I really don't have much. There weren't really that many disappointments. Oh yeah, I have to congratulate the Browns on simultaneously being the first team to make the playoffs in that organization's history since 2002, before I was born, and then subsequently having their head coach, 2 of the other coaching staff, and 3 players test positive for COVID-19. Even the Browns can figure out a way to mess up a playoff berth. Yeah. Anyway, there weren't really many disappointments. You could say the Eagles were a really big disappointment, and I feel bad for Carson Wentz, but other than that, there weren't really many big disappointments. I'm sorry to the Cardinals fans for how it ended up, the way it ended up. You guys probably win that game if Kyler's able to stay healthy. It's all right. You guys will get him next year. I think you guys will be probably 10-6, if not 11-5 next year, and I think you'll actually have title chances. That defense does need to get better, and Kyler needs to work on his decision making a little bit. But I think overall, great job to the Arizona Cardinals. Great season. Keep up the great work. Kyler will be going in his 3rd year. And then finally, for disappointments, we've got the Texans, and this is the entire fault of Bill O'Brien, because Bill O'Brien is the worst head coach and GM of my lifetime. Yes, I said it. I understand. Jay Gruden does exist. But, man, he's bad. Golly, I've never seen a coach so situationally unaware and a GM so idiotic in his moves. Why would you trade? I'm not even going to get into it. Honestly, I'm not even going to get into it because it's going to make me mad. But anyway, massive disappointment because that defense is really bad. And the offense, even though they were averaging a bunch of points, just wasn't able to cover up for the lack of defense on that team. Now, just to end off this segment, I want to talk about why I think Derrick Henry should win the MVP. This should just be quick. Basically, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes have been doing something that other quarterbacks have been able to do at a rate that is not easy or not common, but not once in a lifetime. On the other hand, Derrick Henry has only did something today one other running back in the history of the NFL has ever done. You heard that right. The history of the NFL. Derrick Henry rushed for 2,000 yards and I believe it's 15 plus touchdowns. Only one other player has ever done that. And I am blanking on his name, but he was a great running back for the Broncos in the 80s. And he won MVP that season. And I think this season, Derrick Henry deserves the same MVP. And I think this will be the first time in a long time that not only does the Heisman Trophy go to a skill position that is not quarterback, but also the MVP goes to a skill position that is not quarterback. Because I do believe with all my heart that Aaron Rodgers is not as valuable as Derrick Henry. You put, you put Alvin Kamara on that team is not nearly as successful as if you put, I'm trying to think, top 5 quarterback. You put Deshaun Watson, maybe not even Deshaun, I'm trying to think. You put Ryan Tannehill, you put Ryan Tannehill with the Green Bay Packers. And you put Alvin Kamara with the Titans. You still would, in my opinion, you would still consider the Green Bay Packers the better team. And Alvin Kamara is the 3rd best running back in the NFL. Or 4th if you don't want, or 5th if you don't want to. He's top 5 if you disregard injuries. If you do put injuries into account, he's top 3. That's insane. There is one other running back including injuries, if you include injuries, there's one other running back that even could hold a candle to Derrick Henry, and that is Dalvin Cook. And Dalvin Cook isn't even close. It's not close. Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL, and without Derrick Henry, that team drops from, I think it's 11 wins down to probably 8, maybe 9, which means they would have missed the playoffs. And if you put Ryan Tannehill with the Green Bay Packers, I think that team drops from probably 13-3 probably to 11 wins, if not 12, because that team is good. That team is great. Without Derrick Henry, that Titans team is average at best. You put an average running back with that team, you get a team that is below 500. You put an average quarterback, which I don't know who you consider average at the quarterback position. I'm trying to think of the prototypical of average. What can I do? Who is the prototypical of average quarterback at the NFL level? Baker Mayfield. He's an average quarterback. Baker Mayfield is an average quarterback in the NFL. If you put Baker Mayfield on the Green Bay Packers, that team is still good. That's still a 10-11 win team. You put Tannehill on the Packers, that's still a 10-11 win team. You put an average running back, I'm trying to think, average running back, Ezekiel Elliott. We'll even do Ezekiel Elliott. This year's Ezekiel Elliott on that team, at his best, would not be able to push that team to 500. Derrick Henry is more valuable without a doubt to any team. To that team. It's just undeniable. It's just an undeniable fact. So, even when people are like, well, it's a value league, it's a value award, and Aaron Rodgers is more valuable, it's just incorrect. If you think about it from a subtraction or an addition, because you put Derrick Henry on the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers, that's a 16-win team. 100%. Because not only do you have to sell out for the pass, you have to sell it for the run, so you have to choose your poison. Aaron Jones is good, but he's not Derrick Henry good. You put Derrick Henry with Deshaun Watson, that team goes from 4 wins to 8 at least, if not 10. Because you get a team that can score 35 through the air, and then another 35 through the ground. That's crazy. You put Derrick Henry on any team, it gives you more than if you put Aaron Rodgers on any team, except for the select few that have really bad quarterbacks. Like the Carson Wentz of the world. I guess, like Carson Wentz. I'm trying to think here. Bad quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky. There aren't really that many bad quarterbacks in the league anymore. Jared Goff. Whoever's starting for the 49ers. What's it called? The Washington football team. Alex Smith, when he's not healthy, which is almost always, because I know, I like him, but come on. That calf injury is still bothering him, even though it's, more than a year later. I love him, and this redemption tour is great, but after this year, he needs to retire. But you put him up against, even, it would have to be the worst tier of quarterbacks for it to make sense that Derrick Henry would be less valuable than Aaron Rodgers. There are more great QBs in the league than there are great running backs. There are 5 great running backs in the league right now. You got Aaron Jones. Then you got, my apologies, not even Aaron Jones. What I meant to say is Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb. 6 running backs. You got 6 running backs that are great running backs. And everyone else after that is good. Or really good, but not great. And the quarterbacks, for great quarterbacks, you have Drew Brees. You have Aaron Rodgers. You have Lamar Jackson. You have Patrick Mahomes. You have Deshaun Watson. And then after that, you still get great quarterbacks. Like Tannehill is a great quarterback. He has one of the largest win percentages in passer, one of the best win percentages in passer ratings in the past year since he came back from, he started for the Tennessee Titans. And then I'm trying to think, and I'm going through playoff teams in my head here. You got Josh Allen, great quarterback. Russell Wilson, great quarterback. And the list goes on and on. I just named 10 off the top of my head like that of just great quarterbacks that could do, in theory, what Aaron Rodgers did, or close to it. But I only named 5 running backs that would have a chance. And I mean a chance to come close to Derrick Henry. Not tie his record, but get above 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards. If they were healthy, maybe they get that high. 2,000 yards? Most if not all those running backs couldn't even hit that. So it's really important to stress how valuable Derrick Henry is to his team. Because Derrick Henry is way more valuable than anyone gives him credit for. When you really think about it, he does deserve the MVP. If he gets it or not, that's my pick for MVP. Yes, that took a little longer than I thought it was going to take. But finally, moving on to our last section, previewing the games. Now, this, not that big of a deal. We're just going to go through each game, and we're just going to pick a winner, and I'm going to give you my reason why, and it's not going to be this big deal or anything like that. So, first, I'm going to go in no particular order. We're going to have the Washington football team versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to pick the football team. Now, the football team does not have the greatest offense. I'll admit it. But that defensive line, I believe, can replicate what that 2008 defensive line did to Tom Brady and what was that at the time? 18-0 New England Patriots, including the playoffs. They're going to dominate the line of scrimmage, force Tom Brady to throw the ball, and tee up on him with those plethora of first-round picks. I believe that'll be enough to throw him off his game, give him to throw a couple picks, turn the ball over, and get the football team enough opportunities to keep the game scoring low, and to eke out a victory. An ugly victory, maybe, but to eke out a victory none of the less. Next, I want to talk about the Steelers and I just forgot it again. There we go. The Steelers and Browns game. Steelers and Browns, this is pretty simple. Steelers, better quarterback. About same quarterback, better coach, worse running back, but about the same O-line, way better defense, better coach, as I already said, and their guards out for the Cleveland Browns guards out. I think it's just the guard, or it's either the guard or the center that's out right now because of COVID. And then you got Kevin Stefanski that's already going to be out. I think that team is just a mess, and I think the Steelers, a well-oiled machine with that defense, is able to create enough havoc to go on to the next round. The next game I want to talk about is the Seattle Seahawks versus Los Angeles Rams, and I think this is going to be one of the closer games, and I think this could be an upset. I don't think that this game is by any means out of reach for the Rams. I think this is a division rivalry, and I think that the Rams do actually end up winning this game because I think although the Seattle Seahawks are a really good team, they're struggling right now, and the Rams are hot. I think with the fact that gosh, I just forgot his name. The backup quarterback for the Rams actually played decent. It's going to light a fire under Jared Goff to play, if he is going to play. I believe he is at this point. And that's going to make him want to play better, and I think that stops his turnover woes, at least for this game. This game I want to talk about is the New Orleans Saints, Chicago Bears game. I think this is simple. I think New Orleans wins. I think New Orleans crushes the Chicago Bears. I don't think Chicago can play a good defense and really be any good. And I think Mitch Trubisky finally shows why he is a bust once and for all. Now, moving on to the AFC side of the things, I already did the Pittsburgh game, but now I'm going to do the Tennessee-Baltimore game, which I think the Ravens win. I think the Tennessee Titans are a good team. I think Derrick Henry is the most valuable player, as I said before. But that team, defensively, cannot overcome the Ravens. There's no pass rush that's going to give Lamar all the time to throw. That defense on the backside is okay, but it's not great. So not only are they going to run the ball over them, once they have to sell out for that, they're going to be able to pass the ball too, because Lamar can still sling that rock. So I don't think this is a really good matchup for the Tennessee Titans at all, because the Tennessee Titans can't rush the passer whatsoever. And the Baltimore Ravens have a really good front seven. Really, that entire defense is good. That entire defense is just good. It's not great or anything. It's not last year's defense, but it's still really good. The reason it's not as statistically dominant as some would think is because of all the COVID cases, but that defense is still really good. So I think that overall this is just a really bad matchup for the Tennessee Titans, and I think for that reason they lose this game. Now, finally, we talked about the Buffalo... Oh, I already talked about... No, I didn't. I need to talk about the Buffalo Bills and the Indianapolis Colts. This is pretty easy. Buffalo wins in a landslide. The Colts, good first half team, but not really a good second half team. Buffalo's defense is really good situationally, and that Buffalo's offense is the best offense in the league right now. They put 50 on what I think is the best defense in the league overall. The statistics don't show it, but I believe because of the competition they faced, because of the teams they faced, that was the best defense in the NFL this year, and they put 50 on them. So I think for sure that's a disgusting team, and I think that the Buffalo Bills roll over the Indianapolis Colts and win. I hope you enjoyed my playoff predictions and everything else from this video, this podcast, I should say. Wherever you're listening, whether that be on my blog or my YouTube, I want to thank you for listening. If you want to contact me for any reason, you can go to the contact section of my blog. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go to the description, click the link. It will take you to my blog, and you can scroll down on the homepage where it says contact info. I believe it's either contact info or contact. Either way, you can either send a message through the website, text me, or email me. Don't call me, won't pick up. That's all. Thank you so much for listening, Smash fans. And until next time, PD Smash signing off.